The Fleischers, on the other hand, were a family of then Austria, now Poland immigrants, moving to America in 1887 and settling in the Jewish tenements of Williamsburg, close to Coney Island. Although not exactly destitute, the Fleischers grew up in, I quote, abject poverty.
But the family, after there were business reverses, grew up in abject poverty.
Regardless of their circumstances, however, the five brothers all had very specific areas of interest. Max, who would lead the Fleischer Studios, was an artist with further interest in engineering, and Lou was a musician. Charles was an inventor, creating the device that puts toothpaste into tubes, as well as the claw games. He didn't invent those, but he invented a version of those apparently. And then there was Joe Fleischer, who was a master electrician, and then there was Dave, who was a huckster and a clown. He worked on Coney Island, and they all had this deep passion for progress and modernism. They were the atypical immigrants coming to America and being very focused on progress and the future and things like that. Max Fleischer, he was the one who went into animation as soon as he learned more about what it was. He started out in newspaper illustration, but then when he learned more about animation, he started focusing more on that. Max felt very unsatisfied with the awkward and stiff movements in the animation of the 1910s, and this led him to invent the rotoscope, using his brother Dave's clown persona as the model to create the Coco the Clown series, which led to Max and Dave's phenomenally successful Out of the Inkwell cartoon shorts, and later formed themselves as an official studio under the name Inkwell Films, becoming almost instantly successful with their animation being light years ahead of the competition with its fluidity and how it was able to capture life. And then later on, they changed the name of Inkwell Films into just Fleischer Studios. The Fleischers went on to create more massive breakthroughs in animation as they continued to innovate. Apart from the rotoscope, it was also Max Fleischer who developed the first animation synced with sound in the form of the sing-along ball, which, you get those on Disney DVDs, or you used to. I don't know if Disney bothers putting that much effort into its extra content these days. But Max actually developed how to sync up the little bouncing ball on the lyrics with sound, which would the ball would be hand animated in time to the music, so a movie theater audience could sing along. And much later, just jumping ahead to the late 30s for a second, they also developed a method of having completely 3D backgrounds for their 2D characters by building miniature sets and placing the 2D characters' cells on glass in front of it. Whereas the Disney Studios had their focus on making their animation as realistic and lifelike as possible, the Fleischer style was more liquid and rough, but had a greater focus on experimenting and more avant-garde art styles and the like. The entire concept of Betty Boop, the Fleischers' biggest star of the 1930s, is based on this edgier, grittier, urban perspective. Betty is this teenage flapper girl wanting to go out and party and dance to the hottest jazz music while being in conflict with her old-world immigrant parents. Betty was also the first uncontested animated sex symbol in a medium where cartoon female characters were gender assigned by just taking the male character and putting a bow and some eyelashes on it. Yeah. There you go, there's your female character. And then you have Betty Boop, who looks like this. This grittier aesthetic was also not tone deaf either, as the Fleischer Studios distribution was signed with Paramount. Now, Paramount movies at this time tended to be less spectacle and more adult subject matter, which matched well with the Fleischer's edgier style than, say, Disney. If you're going to watch the new Jekyll and Hyde movie, you're not going to want to prelude it with freaking funny little bunnies, which is not me making a joke, that's an actual visual. I'm sorry, but nobody is going to be feeling any line of dialogue that comes out of Mae West's mouth.
You were wonderful tonight.
Mom was wonderful at night.
When they've just endured 7 minutes of this. Speaking of which, being based in New York, the Fleischers had another ace in the hole. Is that how you say it? Ace in the hole? Another ace in the hole as far as being more modern, I guess, and what early Disney didn't really have so much, and that was jazz.
Yeah. We chose to have our